So I'm going to hand all of you guys one of these sheets with colored in circles. And we're going to compare them. Now, these circles can be your favorite kind of pie, your favorite kind of pizza. I like cheesecake, so that's what I'm going to represent. Between circle 1 and 2, I'm giving you either the amount on circle 1 to eat or the amount on circle 2. And you haven't ate for 3 days, so it's not like you're full. Which circle would you rather have? So no one wants 1. Would anyone care to explain to me why you guys want 2? More pieces? So it's a bigger piece? Okay, that's fair. So you guys like 2, so we're going to move it on to the next one. 2 or 3? Your favorite one? Strawberry cheesecake. I haven't eaten for 3 days, so. Okay, so 2, 2, 2. So you guys all think 2. Alright, so what's your reasoning there? More crust. I like the crust on pizza, so that's a good reason. It looks bigger. This one, yeah, they didn't really cut the pieces very well. Okay, so you guys are thinking 2, right? Alright. Well, we'll get back to that at the end of the lesson. Alright, so we covered that. Now, we've been going over fractions. You guys mentioned the pieces and how 2 has more pieces than 1. So, who can tell me what is a denominator? We've already been covering this, just remind me.
Is that Harry Potter?
I don't think so. I haven't seen Harry Potter, but I don't think so. Oh, yeah. So denominators. That's close. The bottom number of
A fraction.
the bottom number of a fraction. Okay, so if I write a fraction, you're telling me the denominator is this one right here. It's the 2. Alright. So that's your denominator. We're going to cover in class today, we're going to explain why a certain piece of this cheesecake is bigger than the other one, even if it's not cut into the same equal pieces. Because I could argue that this one is cut into 10 different pieces. There's 10 different slices. I could also argue that this one is cut into possibly only 2, because you got the highlighted area and all this extra. Or I could argue that it's cut into 10 plus this area. Okay, so we're going to explain how you can compare those. So, if I were to ask you, define least common denominator, what do you think the term least common denominator, what do you think that would mean? Okay. Okay, so right now we got, you use this to get small, and you use this to get the bottom number. Does anyone want to add to that? Change it up a little bit? She's on the right track, she's real close.
Common means same or alike.
Okay, so we'll break this into 3 different things. Okay, so right now, our new definition is small and same bottom number. Okay? So, when I say what is the least common denominator, I am comparing 2 different fractions. Okay? So I'm comparing 1 and 2, 1/2, and 3/4. Alright? So, if I say the least common denominator, it is the smallest number that both of these share on the bottom. Okay, so it's the smallest number that both numbers divide. So, say that we have the fraction 1/5 and 2, not that. We're going to go with 1/2. Boom, boom. What is the smallest number that both of those numbers go into? 10. Okay, and how did you figure that one out?
Right
trying to tell me that 10 is divisible by 5 and by 2. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay, you are correct. So, the way you found that is you just counted these numbers. So you went by 5. So you went 5, 10, 15, 20, and you kept moving on. Alright? And then you went 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you were like, oh, boom, right there. There's the same one. That's got to be our least common denominator. Now, that works on small numbers. But when we have the number 1/10 and 3/7, it's going to take you a while. You'd actually have to get all the way to 7. So you'd have to write out 7 of those and 10 of those numbers. But there's a simpler way to do it. So it's called prime factorization. Can anyone tell me what a prime is? If I said, please give me a prime number, how would you go about doing that?
I think prime numbers one itself. You can divide it by 2 or 12.
Okay, so it's only divisible by 1 in itself. Do you guys agree with her? Is she wrong? Is she right? Okay, so she is right. So, I'm going to give you a couple different numbers. Which one of those would you say isn't a prime? Not a prime. 6. So you're saying 2 is a prime because it's only divisible by 2 and by 1. You're correct in that. Okay, now 5 is also divisible by 5 and 1. Now, what makes 6 not a prime? 3 and 2, as well as 6 and 1. Okay, so that's what makes it not a prime. Right there. Okay, so the way that we're going to do these, explain different fractions, is through prime factorization. So, I'm going to give you the fraction, and you guys can go ahead and write on these papers that I give you as well. You can round the back and whatever you want. But I'm going to tell you the number 10 and 20. And actually, you don't have to write this part down yet. But what's the relationship between 10 and 20? Okay, so 10, it takes 2 10s to make a 20. Right? Alright, sweet. Well, there's another way of doing that, and it's this prime factorization. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break each number into prime factors. So, can anyone break a 10 down for me? What else can divide it by? 5 and 2. Can you divide either of these numbers by anything besides 1? Okay, so those are both prime. That's what you're telling me? Alright, what about 20? What can we divide that by? 4 and 5. Alright, so we're going to go 4 and 5. Are those both primes? Okay, so which one isn't a prime? And what do we need to do to this 4 then? 2 and 2. That's correct. Okay, so 2 times 2 equals 4. How you do prime factorization is you multiply each number that you have left. So you have a 5, 2, 2, 2, and a 5 left. Now, the kicker is you multiply by the greater amount per number. Okay? So right here, there's only 1 5 and 1 5. So you're going to bring down 1 5. Because that's the most of that number used. However, there's 1 2 in this number and 2 2s in this number. So what do you think you're going to bring here? So you're going to bring a 2. Should you bring 1 2 or 2 2s? 2 2s. That's correct. Now, if we multiply these, we would get 20. That is your least common denominator of this fraction and this fraction. Because both of these go into this one, and it's the smallest number. This is your prime factorization. Okay? Does that make sense? So if I tell you to compare the fraction 1/10 and 3/4,
Bree says, keep going.
where are we at right there? What would be your similar fraction? 20. Okay? So, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So from 10 to get to 20, what did you do? So you're going to multiply 1 times 2. That fraction is going to be 220. And this one, to get from 4 to 20, what did you do? 5. So you're going to go 3 times 5, which equals 15. That's your other fraction. Okay? So, that's how you do that. We are going to break up into teams. You guys are going to be the red team, you guys are going to be the blue. Take each one of those and crumple them up real quick. Or do it individually, each paper individually. You should have 10 balls. Alright. Now, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to give you 3 seconds to shoot as many of those balls into this basket as you can. So you guys can go ahead and stand up. You're going to do one at a time. So one person's going to shoot the first set, then you're going to pick them up, record your amount, and the second person's going to shoot. Alright? So you get 3 seconds. Which one of you guys is shooting first? Alright. You can shoot however many you want at a time, but you have 3 seconds, so you're not going to have much time. Shooters, are you ready?
Just me?
You ready, Mitch?
Alright.
Alright, ready, go. 3, 2, 1, stop. Alright, so now what I want you guys to do is come pick up your pieces and count and see how many you've made and how many you've shot. And then I want you to write down that fraction. So, you went 0 for 4, alright, and you went 1 for 5, so go ahead and write that down. Now I want the other person, you get a shoot as well. Okay? So you get 3 seconds. And this group I want to scoot all the way up here. So come
To be
scoot
at
up
work
here.
at 2:30.
Shannon, you can scoot up there.
This is his.
This will make our math easier. You guys ready? You got them how you want? And go. 3, 2, 1, stop. Alright, so moving it up and getting up and shooting. So go ahead and pick them up, figure out your fraction. Now what I want you to do is I want you to compare each other's fractions. So you went 3 for 4 and you went 0 for 4. So that's easy because they have the same least common denominator. Now Cheyenne, what about you and Mitch? How did you guys do?
Ours were really close, but
She cheated.
Okay, but we need to find the least common denominator. Yep, we're focused.
I'm 5th grade.
Yeah, no, you're good.
We'll just point
So
it.
least common denominator, so we have 1/4 and 1/5.
so he made 4 chocolate and made 5.
Alright, and how did you find that? Alright, well, if you're prime factorizing, how would that look?
Well, you would break up 4, 2 and 2.
2 and 2.
1 and 5.
And you would multiply
1, 5, 2,
and get
2, 20.
good job. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to finish out by, I'm going to tell you what each one of these amounts are, and you're going to tell me which size you want. So the first one, can anyone tell me what that one is by looking at it? 1/10. Okay. Second one, you can also look at this one. We're not going to simplify, but yes, that's correct. So 4/10. And I'm going to tell you that this one is 3/7. Now we need to find the least common denominator, and I want you guys to be able to tell me which one you would rather do. So, we already narrowed it down.